Fox News is doing everything they can to help, I don't know, whitewash, sell the invasion of Washington, D.C. by military and federal troops to police the city. And I've got a segment here, just a little quick one, on Fox News. I believe the show is called Outnumbered. And when the framing of this Outnumbered is there's usually one man in the middle surrounded by four women with their legs sticking out, you know, for all of the Fox News grandpas out there to get, you know, a little softcore porn. Anyway, in this particular segment that we're looking at, there is four conservatives, including the guy, and one woman this woman here in yellow, she is, I don't know if she's definitely probably not on the left, but she has got a little bit more of a liberal bent. And you've got all of these Fox News hosts that are trying to sell this, and she gives them a little clap back. And I got to say, not too bad. Pretty all right.
DC, the model will be this is how law and order can be enforced at the local and state level. So will that model then translate? And
by the way, the model she's talking about is what they're doing in DC is Trump's going to be his new model for invading other cities. You know, his first test case was LA. He's still got some people there. And now he's doing Washington, D.C. Donald Trump has already threatened other cities like Chicago and New York and Baltimore and, other blue cities. And he is employing ICE and other federal officers that he's collecting from red states and rural areas to go to these big blue cities and beat up the brown folk and protesters. Anyway, that's what she's talking about when she's talking about, this test case in Washington, D.C.
Be accepted by all of these other Democrat cities that need help too.
Well, question number one is a lot of the cities with the most crime in the country are led by Republicans. This is not just a Democratic city problem. So the president doesn't talk about those, but there are a lot around the country in that list of murders, violent crimes that are Republican led. Number two, I've lived in Washington since 2006, in the Washington, D.C. area and in Washington itself. Of course, we should have fewer carjackings, fewer crime. I believe that. You don't put a federal agent checkpoint on 14th Street in Washington, D.C., which is what happened last night. That is not the locus of crime in Washington, D.C. That's where, senators and congresspeople and people that work in the White House go to dinner.
I mean, ultimately, that's what this is for. This is a show of force and ultimately to feign protecting of the wealthy. That's why they're patrolling Foggy Bottom and Georgetown. They're not going to the quote unquote poorer areas, which Benny Johnson says that he wants to cleanse and bulldoze.
They put a federal checkpoint on 14th Street and stopped every car. That is not actually addressing the crime problem in Washington. So while I hope they make Washington safer, I hope they make all of these places safer. That's not how to do it. That's performative. And the third point I would make, as a Washingtonian for many decades, is that it is very rich to say we are going to charge the sandwich thrower with a felony. When I was there on January 6th, and all of those people that assaulted...
Now watch this. She says January 6th. Everybody else, their spines get a little tense, and they are going to start interrupting her and trying to shut her down because we don't talk about January 6th on Fox News.
The police officers got pardoned. Not just the nonviolent ones, not just the ones that went into the Capitol. Everyone, including the ones that went after police officers, got pardoned. So don't tell me we care, that this administration cares about protecting police officers when they did not care about those on January 6th.
Respectfully, can we just stay?
But they got pardoned. No, those were police officers.
I just want to stay. I want to talk about D.C. for a second.
But that was in D.C. That was in D.C.
She's like, can we talk about D.C.? She's like, bitch, that was in D.C. Where, by the way, Donald Trump said, I can't call in the National Guard. He literally said that on January 6th. I can't call in the National Guard. Meanwhile, he has called the National Guard and the FBI and the ATF and ICE and fucking PTA and the DMV. He's called everybody.
They're DC police
Can I just start with the fact checking on what you said?
Those were DC police officers
So the top
that got
10
assaulted.
cities, the top 10 cities for murder in 2025, St. Louis, Missouri. Who's leading it?
Who's leading St. Louis, Missouri? Are we talking about the city? Or are we talking about the state, which is a red state? Anyway, now they've shut her up. But I just wanted to show you that at least there's somebody on Fox News saying, hey, don't tell me you give a shit about the safety of Washington, D.C. when Donald Trump pardoned 1,600 people that were arrested and convicted for trying to overthrow the fucking election in 2020. Let's not pretend like that didn't happen. Although Fox News has spent 4 years pretending like it didn't happen, and they're not about to let this blonde lady in yellow to tell them any different. So let's just do a little fact check here. Let's stop her. Gotta stop her talking. By the way, this was published on January 6th. Trump caused this insurrection. Every Republican must condemn it. Well, those days are done. Unfortunately, they should have. Hell, we could have been done with Donald Trump way back then. If it hadn't have been, if I'm not mistaken, they had 58 senators willing to convict Donald Trump. I believe they needed 67, which is just an unfathomable number. But at the same time, it should have been fathomable. Honestly, we all watched it. We all saw it on television. It's not like, it's that far removed. It was only a few years ago. We saw this shit. Let's have a refresher course, shall we?
They are telling members of Congress to shelter in place. They are evacuating members of the House and Senate from doing their constitutionally prescribed duties.
I can't call in the
there are
National
fights.
Guard.
There are people breaching
Wouldn't be appropriate.
police lines. There are people climbing up
Nancy
walls.
Pelosi
Have you
should have
ever
done
seen
it.
anything like this?
No, and I don't think anybody else has either. In fact, I know they haven't, not in the United States. I mean, maybe in some third world country. But, here you got a situation where the president's stirring the pot. He's got his allies in there. They have unleashed something that they cannot control. And they need to understand that. Now, control can be regained. And again, I'm telling you now, it's not going to be pretty. And if I was there, I guarantee you, we would do whatever we had to do to get them the hell out of there.
They're just a bunch of tourists.
It never should have gotten this far.
They're
Never
sightseers,
should have gotten this
folks.
far.
President Trump he tweeted a comment, not what I think you would want if you were the police chief right now. He wrote, "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful." It's odd that he said stay peaceful, given the fact that this crowd is not peaceful.
They don't look very
So there's
peaceful.
no way that they could stay peaceful. They have already stormed the Capitol. What would you want President Trump to tweet right now to de-escalate
What I'd want the president to do is shut the hell up and get out of the way. I mean, the guy is he's like cancer. How much more can you give me? At some point in time, if he's not going to do the right thing and tell him to get the hell out of the Capitol and act like they've got some sense, then just shut up. He stirred him up. He got this whole thing going. This is as close to a coup attempt as this country has ever seen. That's what.
Yep, that's what it was, folks. It was a coup attempt. They wanted to hang the vice president. They wanted to sack the Capitol, and they wanted to make sure that Donald Trump stayed in office. And they were willing to beat up the blue lives that they always talk about. Blue Lives Matter. Beat them up with their Donald Trump flagpoles. And Donald Trump pardoned them all. All of them. 1,600 of them. Even the guy who was wearing the Camp Auschwitz sweatshirt. Even the guy that, after he pardoned him, went out and sexually assaulted somebody. Even the guy who, after was pardoned, went out and beat up his wife. Even the guy who went out and robbed a handful of people, and they ended up getting arrested again. Donald Trump pardoned all of those guys. Every last one of them. But he's keeping America safe. He's cleaning up the crime in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, a lot of these guys, whether they be the 3%ers or the Proud Boys or what have you, Now they're in DC yet again, but this time they're armed and they're wearing masks and they're policing the streets, wearing ICE badges on their flak jackets. So, yeah, man, this is chickens coming home to roost, man. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. Fox News, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.